Eshani, aka Total Makeup Junkie 101. So I have yet another Urban Decay palette review video for you. I know Urban Decay has been cranking out palette after palette pretty much back to back, and I've been kind of underwhelmed with a lot of Urban Decay palettes recently, but Urban Decay does have my heart, and I'm always thinking that they will release something amazing just like they used to a couple years ago. So the new palette that they've released is the Urban Decay Afterdark Eyeshadow palette. I like their little saying. It says, late night, anything goes. And this is the box it comes in. Come on, this is literally like a party on a box. I don't know if I can even throw this away because what the heck, this is way too beautiful. And lucky for us, look, the palette itself is also kind of duochromy. It almost has like a rainbow going across it, but it's beautiful. It's like oil spill-ish. It's gorgeous. When I unboxed this palette, I like stared at this box and the palette for like 10 minutes because it's so beautiful. But anyways, I did purchase this palette off of the Sephora website. I paid $49 for it. The palette itself is a really nice size. If you guys have the Urban Decay Electric palette, it's in the exact same sized container. It's laid out exactly the same way. It's got a plastic packaging, which is really nice and sturdy. It closes with a magnet. It does have a mirror up here, and I still have the plastic on it that I have not removed. Okay, there we go. Look at that mirror. So shiny and beautiful. And then you are getting 10 different eyeshadow colors. You're also getting a little dual-ended brush in this palette. I almost never use brushes that come in palettes, but this one is fairly nice. It's synthetic and it's got like a flat brush on one side and then a smaller flat brush, almost like a smudge brush on the other side. Now, as for the actual colors in this palette, as the name states, like After Dark, I was kind of expecting a little bit of like a smoky palette, but Urban Decay already has their Naked Smoked palette. So this is really a collection of what I would consider almost like rich jewel tone type colors, because you're getting like this beautiful burgundy and this rich royal blue and this really beautiful royal purple. Every single color in this palette is metallic, which is definitely something you want to keep in mind. I do not think this is a standalone palette. Every time I've used this, I have pulled in like my Urban Decay Naked palette or my Viseart Neutral Matte palette or just some other matte colors to really not make this palette look like a disco ball all over your eyelids, unless that's the look you're going for. And if so, that is totally and completely cool, but that's not usually the look I'm going for. So I've always pulled in a neutral matte palette. So before I talk about the actual texture and pigmentation of these shadows, let's go ahead and jump right into swatches of this entire palette. So here is the entire palette swatched out on my arm. From left to right, we have Alter, Scene, Supersonic, Sinful, Off Duty, Druggie, Backfire, Lounge, Fringe, and Paralyzed. I really wanted to swatch this entire palette in one go so you guys can see the types of colors you get. You can see you get a nice range of like warm colors in the beginning of the palette, and then towards the end you do get quite a few cool colors as well. So no matter what type of look you're going for, if you want kind of like a rusty burgundy gold look, you can use the top row. And then if you're looking for a really cool toned like blue or purple smoky eye, you can definitely use the bottom row. Now, in terms of the actual texture and pigmentation of these shadows, luckily, I was blown away. Almost all of these colors have a really, really beautiful formula. Super smooth, creamy, pigmented, blendable. Just the type of formula I originally fell in love with, and the reason I love Urban Decay shadows so much. I will say that these three colors down here in the bottom row, the two purples as well as the color Lounge, were a little bit stiffer. You could definitely build them up, but they didn't deliver that strong pop of pigmentation the way every single other color did. Now I know not all of these colors are exclusive to this palette. I know Lounge is available in the full size version, and I feel like I've heard the name Supersonic too. I will go ahead and do some research and write like the re-promoted shades. I'll write them in the description box below for you, just in case you guys are curious. But I know that Urban Decay hasn't really released a palette quite like this before. This palette does kind of remind me of the Electric palette, not necessarily in the color range, but I feel like you use them in a very similar way. With the Electric palette, you had to pull in another corresponding eyeshadow palette to really make that palette work. I feel like it's the same thing with this palette. I would always bring in another palette and use this palette almost as my base inspiration or as my color pop. I don't think any of the individual colors are unique. I'm sure I have things like it in my collection already, but I do think the colors all put together in a single palette like this is unique. I can't think of another palette in my collection that has a similar color scheme. I personally think this palette is ideal for anyone who feels like they have plenty of neutral shadows and you're not looking for any more matte neutral shadows, but you're looking for a palette that has a nice variety of colors that you can use in combination with things you already own. Especially if you're looking for jewel toned colors. I know how popular those types of colors are around the winter time, and I do think this is a beautiful winter palette. I am surprised by how much I do really enjoy this palette. I will say I haven't really enjoyed a new Urban Decay palette recently. All of the new ones they've been releasing over the past probably year have just been kind of average, if not below average. And this is the first one that really performs for me in terms of the quality, the variety, the uniqueness of the palette itself. I think it's beautiful. And I think the packaging is beautiful as well. So anyways, let's go ahead and do a price breakdown really quickly. As I said, I paid $49 for this palette. There are 10 different shadows in here. Each of the shades holds 1.7 grams each, which means you are getting 17 grams of product total. That means that you are paying $2.88 per gram in this palette. Just to put that into perspective for you guys, the original Urban Decay Naked palette retails for $54. You get 12 shades in that palette, and each shade is 1.41 grams each. That means that you're getting 16.92 grams in that palette, so just a little bit less than this, but because that palette is a little bit more expensive, you are paying $3.19 per gram for the Naked palette. So $3.19 per gram versus $2.88 per gram. You're getting a better price per gram value in this palette, and honestly, I really love it. I love the quality. I love the palette overall. 2 thumbs up to Urban Decay. Finally, you guys got a palette that I am completely and totally in love with. I'm very, very happy I picked this palette up. Thank you guys so, so much for watching. Be sure to let me know if you guys have picked up this palette and what you think of it. I would love to know your thoughts in the comments down below. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up if you guys enjoyed it, and I will talk to you guys in my next video on Thursday. I will see you then. Bye! Colored Rain is an indie brand that got really popular from their liquid lipsticks, and I know you guys are gonna, it is like lightly holographic, nothing compared to the box obviously, but like when it hits